We all have an inner wisdom that when we tap into it and take action, it can be our superpower in breaking through inner barriers and reaching our goals. I've experienced this in my own life. From the time I was 3 years old on, I lived on the second floor of a stately mansion in a small country town. And I say second floor because my family had converted the first floor into a bustling restaurant with banging and clanging and late night bar crowds beneath my bedroom every night. Imagine, 3 years old, bar beneath your bedroom. And I had a quieter temperament. And what I wanted more than anything, without even having the words to express it, was to feel seen and heard. And my immediate family was so involved with the restaurant and all that entailed. And they kind of turned to alcohol for their solace. And I just wanted that deeper connection. My immediate family wasn't available for that, but fortunately, my Grandma Helga was. And as I described before, in her presence, it was though we were in a safe, warm, delicious bubble, and savory aromas wafting in from the kitchen added extra comfort. And our relationship was critically important throughout my life, especially in high school, when my high school guidance counselor said to me when we went in for that senior conversation about what's next, he spoke limitation upon me when he said, "Terri, you're a small town girl. You get lost in a big city. Your best bet is to go to secretarial school and work for your family restaurant." Well, that was a death sentence for my spirit. And after a couple of sleepless, tortured nights, I had like this angst inside of me, knowing that just wasn't right for me. I turned to Grandma Helga and I shared this story. She, with great presence and empathy, she was so wise, a woman of great depth and understanding, resilience, twice widowed, successful in business, well-read. So when she presenced herself and spoke these words of possibility into me, she said, "Terri, look at all I've done without education. Think of what you can do with it." And in that moment, the trajectory of my life shifted forever. And I went on to a big college and received a master's degree in educational psychology. And with Grandma Helga's support, emotionally, not financially, I took 10 years to pay off the student loans. But anyway, by her speaking possibility into me, it gave me the courage to step into a future that was a future of possibilities. And I know that this is important for all of us. And what I learned later on, as I went through my career and ended up working with, big teams, and I coach human-centered design teams from across the nation to showcase workforce innovation at the White House, not once, but twice. And human-centered design at the core of it is empathy. And what I saw was programs flip on their ears and engage customers in a new way and provide higher quality services. And so I thought, gosh, that's really important. Empathy is really important. But then I reflected upon the major missing pieces because I knew the relationships that I had were a little different. And I ran across research that indicated over half of the population is lonely. Half of the population is lonely. And the impact of that loneliness is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Well, this broke my heart. And so I reflected upon what helped me to thrive despite the odds, and out of which emerged what is now known as soulful listening. And so I'm going to take a moment to share with you the 5 simple elements of soulful listening. And I would invite you to kind of tune in and maybe pick some of these pieces that are valuable for you, and to start now and start small and maybe take some action. So the first element of soulful listening is self-care. And rarely do we make the direct connection between high quality self-care and high quality communication, but they are directly linked. And self-care is more than a bubble bath, although for some of us it can include that. It also includes things like setting healthy boundaries, being aware of the loop that's on inside of our head, that self-talk that is there, good nutrition, body movement. All of these things are encompassed in self-care. And when we truly take care of ourselves, we can really open up and be ready for the second element of soulful listening, which is becoming fully present. Imagine we've all been in situations where we can almost see a bubble above a person's head with a list of things they're thinking about. We feel it. So sometimes becoming fully present can feel a little abstract. So what I would like to do right now is to lead us through just a simple breathing activity, taking 3 intentional breaths. The way we'll do that is first exhale all the way. We'll breathe into the count of 4, hold, and out to the count of 6. And as we're doing that, notice your body. Check in with how it feels now, where you might have some tension. Shrug your shoulders up and down, and up and down. And now we'll begin. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold. And now out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, in, hold, out. And the last time, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, and out. Notice your body now. Wiggle around again. Did you feel the shift? We are now more fully in our bodies, more fully present. When we truly take care of ourselves and become fully present, we set ourselves up for the third element of soulful listening, which is quantum listening. And so if active listening and empathy had a love child, it would be this element of soulful listening. And it's where we listen all in with every fiber of our being, with all of our senses and beyond. Maybe we're tapping into the knowing we have of another person. Maybe we're looking at body language. We're listening on this deeper, more connected level. And when we do that, we often gain insights into how we might be helpful to another, and insights into how we might be helpful to ourselves. And when we do that, we're set up to take the fourth element of soulful listening, which is inspired action. When we gain these insights, we may find out an area where we can be helpful to another. We all have access to a myriad of resources. Maybe we can make a phone call. Maybe we can make a connection. Maybe we can share some information with another person. No strings attached. Imagine how that would feel. Somebody hearing you, somebody offering assistance. And then the final element of soulful listening is the feedback loop. And the feedback loop means circling back and letting a person know that you've taken this inspired action on their behalf. Again, no strings attached. But, have you been in a conversation before where you kind of filleted yourself? You lean forward, you let a person know what your needs are, and then crickets. What may have happened, they may have heard you deeply. They may be taking action. But if they don't let you know, it's human nature to fill in the gap. And we usually fill in the gap incorrectly. And we might tell ourselves a story, well, they didn't even hear us. It doesn't matter. And so the next time you get together with that person, you'll be more guarded, more shut down. But when this cycle of soulful listening is repeated time and time again, it embeds integrity and confidence within our relationships. And it allows us to be more bold in sharing our ideas and sharing the innovations. And like we talked about in the beginning, there are a set of geniuses within each of us. And to have them unleashed, we really need to be heard and supported by others. And we need to listen to ourselves. That inner nudging, that angst, the insights that we gain. Yeah. And then take action on that. It's very, very powerful. And this type of listening and this type of communication is powerful in all types of relationships, including those with yourself. So imagine when you are developing a deeper degree of trust with yourself, when you take action, when you get these nudgings and you take a time to reflect back and you realize that, oh, I had some insights and I took action and it turned out well. And so again, this type of communication is beneficial in all relationships. And we thrive when we have deeper connections with others too, whether it be a romantic relationship, whether it be in the business world, or whether it be with a child. And so I'm going to share a story about my own son and how this has played out in his life and my life. And so I was a single parent to Jacob, my son, from the time he was 10 years old on. And Jacob and I knew early on that whatever was to happen after high school would be up to the two of us financially. And so we always communicated in this way that is now known as soulful listening. And so when he was 15 years old, we tuned in for a high stakes conversation. And I asked Jacob, what would you like for your after high school experience? To which he said with great confidence, at 6'5", 300 pounds, this 15-year-old announced, Mom, I'd like to go someplace strong in math and science. And if I could, play on a good football team. Is there a place that has both? We had a cornfield in the backyard. I said to him, Jacob, I'm sure there are. I don't know right now. I will check. So I heard him on this deeper level. I took action. I let him know that action was being taken. So anyway, I checked around with my network and asked, is there a place that has both? And the Southern school kept popping up. I took that back to Jacob and I said, people are saying this. He goes, well, we should go. I didn't even know how I was going to pay for a plane ticket, let alone feed this gigantic athlete in a big city. Yet, when we listen soulfully and take action, doors open. And so he had just turned 16. We went to this Southern school in Atlanta, Georgia. We met with coaches. We met with students. 2 days later, we're in a park area. He looks down at me from his 6'5" perch and says, Mom, I feel like I belong here. And that was it. He had made his decision. He listened to his inner guidance and claimed a future of great possibilities. So before the end of his junior year, Jacob was offered a full scholarship to become an offensive lineman at Georgia Tech. Jacob did all the work academically and athletically. I simply walked alongside him, holding the space for possibility and taking action. Yeah. And so his story did not end there. Jacob went on to get another degree and another degree. He ended up becoming a doctor of physical therapy. And now he is in San Diego. He's the head of human performance and development. And that organization works exclusively with the Navy SEAL community. Possibilities unleashed. So imagine the power of that one soulful listening conversation. What if I would have spoken limitation like my high school guidance counselor did into Jacob? The trajectory would have been much different. And so Jacob has learned to listen to his own inner guide, as I would invite you to, as you are navigating through the challenges ahead, setting your higher and higher goals and reaching your greater human potential. Thank you. I'm going to turn it back to you, JB.
Well, Terri, that's awesome. I wanted to see if you had something that you'd like to offer to some of our listeners. I think that what you're doing from Soulful Listening is one of the keys to becoming successful in your personal life as well as your professional life. So I'd love to have people reach out to you. How would they do that?
Yeah, certainly. I would love that. We're going to share a free gift, which is a box breathing activity. We did a short breathing today. And the box breathing is a really good way to get centered and deeply into your breathing and feel the feelings of your body now. And it helps us to kind of clear our minds. When we step away from fight flight, when we're racing and racing and racing, if we can pause a little bit and breathe, we have access to our higher reasoning. And there's a psychological reason for that. I'm not going to go into it all, but I would invite you to practice that in your own life. Even before like a conversation, just take a couple of breaths. It doesn't need to be announced to anybody. It doesn't need to be a big inhale and exhale. Just take some intentional breaths and see how you are with others and also with yourself. And another way to get in touch with me is to look at my website, soulful.Listening.com. Again, soulful.Listening.com. And another thing that you may want to look at is I did a TEDx talk. I think we're close to 200,000 views now. And that would be another way to share this methodology, this way of being with others.